Assalamualaikum, my name is Anastasia binti Israel and I will be providing a brief introductory in regards of the topic of food waste. We will start off with the definition of food waste. Food waste upholds a very straightforward definitive meaning, which basically means food that are intended for consumption that is discarded along the food supply chain and cannot be used. It is food that you throw away for reasons simply because it is not consumable or edible. Provided in this slide is a brief statistical data to substantiate the amplifying concern on the issue of food waste in itself. These data were collected and published by the New Straits Times in 2019 in accordance with the observation made by the Solid Waste Management and Public Cleansing Corporation (SW Corp) Malaysia, which was initially established to complement and ensure success of the National Solid Waste Management Policy. Very briefly on SW Corp, this corporation aims to create a comprehensive, integrated, cost-effective and sustainable solid waste management system that is required by the society who are concerned with environmental protection and public well-being. They were established under the Solid Waste and Public Cleansing Management Corporation Act and was brought under the administration of the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. Through their observation, they had discovered that Malaysians waste an approximate amount of 16,000 tons of food daily, which theoretically is able to feed 2 million people 3 times a day. And to better illustrate the severity of the intensifying issue, they have formulated a hypothesis that by the end of the year 2020, the amount of food waste contributed by Malaysians could possibly fill up 16 of 451.9 meters KLCC building, and that was for the year 2020. We are currently in the beginning of the year 2021, which means that there is a probability that this circumstance had either aggravated or improved, which in this context is entirely depending on the initiatives designed to address this concern. Look at the examples of food waste in order to get a better comprehension on the definitive meaning as well as the origin of the issue of food waste. Basically, different people lead different kinds of lifestyle, which also implies that the intake of production consumed by one household may vary to another. Generally, the highest amount of food that is being disposed of along the hierarchy are fruits and vegetables. Contributing factors to this could easily be a household or the market where the household buys their produces itself. The second highest amount of food are fish and seafood. Next, we have meat and dairy and oilseeds, are also wheat and corn. These are the examples of food waste that we sometimes subconsciously overlooked before we decide to throw them away. It was reported by SW Corp that 55% of solid waste disposed at landfills comprised of food. Now observe the types of food waste that can be avoided. First off are leftovers, which rises by about 15 to 20% during festive seasons according to SW Corp. Next is blemished fruits and vegetables. Chances are people do not buy these kinds of fruits and vegetables for reasons of how it would influence a person's impression, especially if it is being served at an upscale restaurant by a well-appointed cook per se. Simply, consumers tend to devalue unattractive produce due to increasing negative self-image and thus consequently decreasing their willingness to buy them. An observation made by the American Marketing Association research team had discovered that farmers leave up to 30% of their produce in the field simply because it is not aesthetically pleasing enough to pick and sell. Grocery retailers trash up to $15.4 billion of edible fruits and vegetables every year. Third and fourth are stale food and expired food, which can basically be avoided with a vigilant inspection on the expiry dates as well as methods used in restoring the goods and produces itself. I have also included a couple of verses from Surah Al-Isra to demonstrate an Islamic approach in accordance with the materials in the slide. The translation simply prescribes that the habit of wasting is affiliated to a devil's habit, which basically means it is not a good habit, and a person with akhlaq that follows the rules as promulgated in the Quran will go out of their way to avoid such a habit.
We are conducting a project in relation to the food waste issue in the International Islamic University Malaysia. And to make this particular issue more identifiable, we had narrowed it down to food waste occurrence in Mahala Mariam. Mahala Mariam is one of the mahala that International Islamic University Malaysia has. Mahala Mariam is built for the female residents. It has a very good environment and nature. There are a lot of plants that have supplied sufficient oxygen to people. And this is quite a good scenery to be seen by people, and praise to Allah for this opportunity to have a good environment and nature. In Mahala Mariam, there are a lot of sufficient facilities such as water, electric, and others. But through our observation in Mahala Mariam, there is still an issue for Mahala Mariam to achieve one of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is responsible consumption and production. The issue is food waste. International Islamic University Malaysia has a lot of cafes. Each one of the cafe provide many kinds of food that will satisfy everyone's needs and desires. This is because each one of the students have different kind of tastes. Each one of the students can choose the food that they want to buy and eat. They have a lot of choices that they can make. If they don't like chicken, they can choose meat or fish and many more choices. As we all know, this is a good service from the cafe owner because the cafe owner tried to satisfy each one of the students' needs and desire. But sadly, these many kinds of foods sometimes are being wasted. Through our observations, the food waste that happen in Mahala Mariam is because many factors. Firstly, food waste happen because the students' behavior itself. As can be observed, the residents of Mahala Mariam, they tend to buy food exceed their needs. Whenever they're already full, the uneaten food will be wasted. This kind of behavior should be get rid in order to reduce the number of food waste in Mahala Mariam. Then, it is also a good behavior to avoid excessive buying or purchases, such as avoiding of being tempted buying food with sales buy one free one, because there is an urge for the students to be conscious to buy and consume food only with the amount they can eat, or else they will prompt food waste. Other than that, food waste in Mahala Mariam also happen because of the oversupply in the cafe. In academic perspective, oversupply is an excessive amount of a product, and it occurs when demand is lower than supply. In Mahala Mariam, the cafe owner tend to serve a lot of foods regardless the number of residents. As we all know, during this COVID-19 pandemic, not all of the students are staying in Mahala. It is crucial for the cafe owner to be aware of this situation. In fulfilling our initial goal to make the issue more identifiable, we have conducted an interview with some of the students in Mahala Mariam. The questions are regarding food waste issue. For example, have they ever wasted their food? Why they commit food waste? Do they know where the food waste are sent to every day? And do they aware that IIUM has its own food waste composting project?
I think because already food. Because sometimes the portion is too big for me.
Because for me, I'm already full.
No, I don't. Yes, because one day when I was working in UIA, I found the signboard that write food waste composting project.
As a conclusion, the important objective why we do this project paper regarding food waste issue is we as students in IIUM want to create awareness to all IIUM students regarding the effect of food waste. As we all know, this food waste is one of the bad habits of human being, and it should not be from human nature. To substantiate the argument, let us refer to Surah Al-Isra verse 27. Allah said in the surah, "Surely the wasteful are like brothers to the devils, and the devils is never ungrateful to his Lord."
What is compost? Composting is the natural process of decomposition and recycling of organic material into a humus-rich soil amendment known as compost. For any business or institution producing food waste, this organic material can be easily decomposed into high-quality compost. What can be composted? Fruits, vegetables, dairy products, grains, bread, unbleached paper napkins, coffee filters, eggshells, meats, and newspaper can be composted. If it can be eaten or grown in a field or garden, it can be composted. Items that cannot be composted include plastic, grease, glass, and metals, including plastic utensils, condiment package, plastic wrap, plastic bags, foil, silverware, drinking straw, bottles, polystyrene, or chemicals. Items such as red meat, bones, and small amount of paper are acceptable, but they take longer to decompose. Add red meat and bones to only a well-controlled compost pile to avoid attracting vermin, pests, and insects to partially decompose meat scraps. Process of food composting. Collected from municipalities, the food and beverage industry, retailers, and agriculture arrive at the processing center by truck. The waste is weighed and checked before being taken to the unloading dock. Unpacking system, screen, and magnetic separator extract the ferrous and inert material, leaving only organic matter. This biomass will now be transformed into methane-rich biogas through anaerobic digestion. Biodegradable waste is first mixed with water or processed liquid to obtain a well-blended slurry. It is then fed into a sealed digester where, in the absence of oxygen, the organic material will ferment over several days and start to decompose. The digester output releases biogas as well as digested a byproduct that is more or less solid. Biogas obtained in this way can be injected into the utility gas network or used as fuel for the vehicle or for generating heat and electricity. The digestate is dehydrated in a centrifuge that's stored at a composting platform, kept at a controlled temperature and regularly turned and aerated. The material decomposes over several weeks to produce well-rotated compost that is rich in nutrients. When reused as a fertilizer, the compost returns the carbon content to the soil, helping to combat greenhouse gas emission. Bioconversion is an innovative, high added value circular economy process. Organic residues at a livestock farm are sorted then as feed for grubs of the Hermetia illusion fly, a harmless and non-invasive insect. In a few days, the grubs will eat all the decomposing waste, growing and putting on a considerable amount of weight. Rich in protein and fat, the grubs are then dehydrated and processed to make oil and animal meal.
Conclusively, there are many benefits if one avoids food waste socially, economically, environmentally, as well as politically, which may direct or indirectly affect not only one person but a community in a country itself. I have also included a hadith from Sahih Muslim which basically emphasizes on the importance of sharing our rizki, which in this context may serve as an Islamic approach in avoiding food waste in addition to helping those whom are unfortunate with whatever Allah has given us. Thank you.